question.
Hi, I'm Nanad. I'm 10 and a half. My question is, how can you please elaborate on India's stance in the of neutrality in the Russia-Ukraine war and how the public has reacted?
Wow. Okay. Wow, Nina. You stumped me.
Nina comes to our Sri Ram Shaka.
Ah.
And
No wonder.
Pavan is here, the father is there, and sister-in-law, she's in US. She's a overseas BJP secretary.
Wow.
Great, great. So, all the parents here, please send your kids to Sri Ram Shakha. Thank you, Nina. Well, Nina, for all these years, India's foreign policy was not always dictated by the objective of protecting Indian interests. We had to choose. We were rather constrained to choose binaries. For example, you couldn't. I'll give 2 or 3 examples. Vinod, you can take a seat. That because you're quite well versed in foreign affairs and geopolitics, I will try to give a couple of examples. India would not make efforts to be good friends with Israel because we would be afraid of antagonizing the domestic Muslim population in India, and that dictated our foreign policy. Even though we very clearly knew that Israel will be a very important strategic partner. Many foreign policy decisions were taken in such a way that India's interests were compromised. Whether it was at WTO, whether it was at IMF, or whether it was at global platforms like G20 or G8 or any of these international platforms. But there has been one distinct change post 2014. The only objective is India first. And it's a very clear policy that, having that as the objective makes the choices very easy for the government. If there are 2 policy choices that one has to make, the government chooses that policy which furthers the objective of India first. In the context of Ukraine and Russia, the stand of the government was very clear. And the Honorable External Affairs Minister has repeated this at multiple occasions. Are we in favor of the conflict? No. Are we in favor of peaceful dialogue? Yes. But does that mean that we will be choosing sides between the two? No. We don't have to. It is not our war. And just because the US or just because any other nation wants India to take a part or role in this war, because that furthers their interest, India will not do so, because that may not be in India's interest. That is very clear. We will do what is essential to further the interests of Bharat and Bharat alone. We are not a vassal state. We are not a partner who has no voice or an independent thinking. India is a sovereign country which makes its own foreign policy choices. India cannot be dictated to, and India cannot be taken for granted. This is the message of New India. The Prime Minister of this nation today, of our country today, speaks to President Zelensky, speaks to President Putin, and ensures there is a ceasefire. In other words, he literally pauses the war for a few hours so that we can evacuate the stranded Indian citizens, Indian students from both these nations. Could we have done something of this kind had we chosen sides in the war?
No.
Many of you may have seen on Twitter and Instagram that a large number of Indian students who were evacuated were from Karnataka, were from Bengaluru, from my own constituency. I had gone to, visit them, receive them at the airport. When they came back, they were in tears of gratitude. Because no other country in the world, including the United States, including China, including the big G8 powers, those who sat and lectured India to take sides, not one nation evacuated their stranded citizens. While we ran more than 140 aircrafts, sent 4 of our cabinet ministers right there on the ground, and the Prime Minister ensured that the mission will not stop until the last Indian student is evacuated from there. And in this changing global scenario, if India realizes that there is cheap oil available from Russia, we will buy it. We will buy it because we want to control inflation back home. That is protecting Indian interests. That is placing India first. And at the same time, we will also support Ukraine through humanitarian efforts and relief measures. So this is the paramount difference that has taken place in India's foreign policy, where Indian government is placing the interests of Indians, interests of Bharat, at the very forefront of making policy choices. And that is how it will remain. This is the irreversible change that India's foreign policy has witnessed under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.